invite Dr. Ashish Vaidya to share his cases. Dr. Ashish?
Yeah. Is my slide visible? Raja?
Starting, yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. At the outset, I would like to thank ARS and Novartis for inviting me here. So today I'm going to discuss a couple of cases of brolucizumab in wet AMD. This was Mrs. ABC, age 75 years. She had reduced vision in the left eye since 2 weeks, and vision in the left eye was 624 N12, PCI in both eyes, no history of diabetes or blood pressure. And here you can see this was a OCT done elsewhere. She did not want to repeat it. And you can see that in the left eye, there is a large PED along with subretinal, intraretinal, and sub-RPE fluid. Here you can see the presence of some amount of SHREM also. And she received brolucizumab in October 1st or second week of October 2020. We explained everything to her, told her about the reactions, and the reason she wanted to take up brolucizumab because her daughter was in the US, and she wants, after the first 3 loading doses, she felt that she could come to the US for about 3 months and not worry about taking another dose. So we gave her the first dose, and on the first day there was nothing. On the second day, you can see over here that the vision was 624. There was no inflammation. However, I noticed that there were 2 small hemorrhages over here. They were very subtle and tiny hemorrhages. And when we went back to the picture over here, you can see that those 2 hemorrhages are here also. So it's very important to have a detailed color photograph of the patient, because in case reaction happens, in case vasculitis happens, we need to compare it with the picture which has been taken pre, and this helps in detecting subtle cases of hemorrhages. So we gave the second dose of brolucizumab, and again the intraretinal fluid subsided, the PED subsided. In December 2020, the vision subsided, the PED subsided still more, and after 3 loading doses of brolucizumab, the patient's vision was 6/9 N8, and the PED was almost flattened, and she went to US on a happy note. Now that doesn't end the story over here, because we were thinking she was in US. At some time she came back, and then she had COVID, and then she never followed up. So the moral of the story is that whatever anti-VEGF you do, the patient has to follow up. So patient came straight back in June 2021, and she came with a vision from 6/9 N8. The vision has now dropped to 660 N36 with a subretinal fluid over here, a hemorrhage over here, and here you can see a very bad result. So we have again started with the brolucizumab. Maybe we'll give a monthly dose of brolucizumab again and see how the result is. The next patient is Dr. VS. He had a right eye macular scar due to wet age-related macular degeneration. Left eye drusen, vision 6/9 N6, and he was followed up consecutively in 2013, 2014, and 2015. In 2016, he developed wet AMD. At that time, he was given 3 injections of ranibizumab, and here you can see that this significantly worsened. He was then shifted to aflibercept and given aflibercept on a treat and extend basis, but even then, he could never manage to go beyond 6 weeks. At the most, we could go up to 7 weeks with this. And here the subretinal fluid was persistent throughout. And he was maintained on aflibercept in 2017. This is 2018 picture, 2019 picture. And then we got brolucizumab in 2020. So we gave him brolucizumab, and for the first time in the last 3 or 4 years, there was no subretinal fluid. So here you can see the magic of brolucizumab, that the subretinal fluid which was there in all these slides has now for the first time gone off. Patient's vision improved from, the near vision especially improved from about N/10 to N/8. And what he said was that he was a diabetic taking insulin, and for the first time in the past 4 years, he was able to see the markings of the insulin syringe. However, these are all COVID times, so we decided on the PRN right from day 1. And here you can see after about 2.5 months, you can see that a little bit of fluid has come up. So we again injected brolucizumab, then again a little bit of fluid came up, again injected brolucizumab, again the fluid came up. The patient was also very on irregular follow-up because of the COVID. And finally, in May 2021, we have seen him, again there was recurrent fluid because of a very active, very severely active disease, and we have given him the 5th injection of brolucizumab. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish, for the nice presentation. So, if I can ask Dr. Dipendra Singh, would you still consider giving, let's say, in patients like the recurrence which you are seeing here in Dr. Ashish's case, Q4 weekly dosing of brolucizumab even beyond the loading dose? Do you think, in spite of the safety recommendations, you would take the chances of, let's say, a hypothetical case requiring frequent injections of Q4 weeks?
No, I think I'll be little more cautious for Q4 dosing right now, especially seeing this, cautions being issued. But only thing what I would like to add here is we need to do further subgroup analysis of Hawk and Harrier and other studies to see that how long this molecule keeps on acting. See, Pronto did a very good job for us by doing daily and weekly OCTs, and it told us that even at 2 or 3 weeks, the drug is still acting. You get continuous reduction in subretinal fluid. So at 4 week, if I see fluid still there, I would like to see at 6 weeks and 8 weeks. And if this, they can come up with data which can show that the fluid can keep on reducing till 7-8 weeks, then there is no point repeating it that early. Especially, I think for these recurrent patients, I would still hesitate because anyway they are not in the initial phase of disease, so their requirement for injection is not that high as the patients who are treatment naive. So I would hesitate to shift them on 4 weekly regime. But yes, 8 weekly is a good idea. I think one speaker suggested. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that also would help. Apart from the number of injections, even the frequency of visits becomes important.
Yes.
So that also reduces, and we will know, as you said, if we do further detailed studies of doing those OCTs more often, we will know when to call the patient again. I mean,
this one basically, I mean, in this patient which Ashish showed now, actually the intraretinal fluid disappeared with the first injection itself.
Yes.
And is there any need to give further injections immediately for the PED?
No, it was for the subretinal. This Dr. Girdhar, the subretinal fluid came back. The patient himself is a one-eyed and he's a doctor. So, he picks up his decrease in vision immediately. And when he picks up his decrease in vision, he comes back to me and tells me that, okay, fine, I need an injection. See the OCT, I need an injection.
The patient who went to US.
Yeah, the patient who went to US, yes.
That patient, after your first injection,
correct,
the OCT scan that you showed
did not have intraretinal fluid. There was only sub-RPE fluid.
It was only sub-RPE fluid. So is it necessary to treat so aggressively the sub-RPE fluid is what I'm asking. I mean, the opinion of
that was October 5th of October, brolucizumab had just come in and we were told to give a monthly loading dose. This was a treatment naive patient and it was the first time that she was receiving an anti-VEGF injection. And that is the reason why we gave a loading dose at that time. And if you saw over the period of the 3 months, the PED also has kept on flattening and the vision has kept on improving with every visit.
Because
so that also
sometimes what happens is that, see, the sub-RPE fluid, it's not only sub-RPE fluid, it is also sub-RPE fibrovascular complex.
Definitely.
So sometimes what happens is that if we treat aggressively the PED, you may land up in atrophy. So because PED sometimes when they collapse or when they shrink, you also create an atrophy, especially in eyes where there is a pre-existing thin choroid. So I think that's an important message. So I mean, your case is very nice. I mean, it's very nice and it shows the recurrence also, which is very important. But I think aggressively treating PED sometimes can be a little, counterproductive.
Yeah, so I think Dr. Girdhar, you have brought out an important point. We need more data on treating sub-RPE fluid, although Gopal Pillai's talk mentioned about sub-RPE fluid reduction also having some improvement.
No, if it occurs spontaneously with the treatment of the subretinal fluid, it's a different issue.
Yeah.
But after complete resolution of the subretinal fluid, I think giving additional injections for the sub-RPE fluid, I think we need to, have some criteria to decide when and what.
If I might add, the appearance of new sub-RPE fluid is extremely important because it
Yes.
indicates an underlying choroidal new vascular membrane. So if it is reappearing, then it should be given injection.
Yes.
It cannot be.
That's an important point, and that's where brolucizumab probably has an advantage, having more effect on the sub-RP